The wind howled across the barren surface of NGC 2000, 187 bits, carrying crimson dust that scraped against environmental specialist Zixta's protective dome. Her 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession as she adjusted the sensitivity of her scanner, trying to compensate for the interference from the planet's magnetic fields. Behind her, the research team's shuttle hummed quietly, its shields deflecting the worst of the storm. Anything interesting in Sector 7? Chief Archaeologist Ven Po's voice crackled through her comm unit. The Meridian scientist's characteristic patience carried even through the static. Negative, Zixta responded, her trunk curling in frustration. Just another dead zone. 3 weeks of excavation, and we found nothing but. Her scanner emitted a sharp whine, the display flickering wildly before going dark. Strange. Equipment malfunction. Return to base, Ven Po started to say, but Zixta was already moving forward, her natural curiosity overwhelming caution. The scanner wasn't just dead, it was being actively suppressed by something. In 15 cycles of field work, she'd never seen anything like it. I need to check something first, she replied, adjusting her position to triangulate the source of the interference. The dust storm intensified, as if responding to her presence. There's a pattern to this disruption. It's not random. 20 meters ahead, her foot struck something solid. Dropping to her knees, she brushed away centuries of accumulated dust, revealing a surface that definitely wasn't natural. The material was smooth, darker than the surrounding rock, with faint lines etched into its surface that seemed to shift when she wasn't looking directly at them. "Chief," she called, excitement making her voice tremble. "I found something. Sending coordinates now." Within minutes, the entire research team had assembled. Their equipment, designed to analyze ruins from the oldest known civilizations, struggled to make sense of what they were seeing. The material defied their dating methods, and the patterns seemed to reconfigure themselves whenever they attempted to document them. "We need to get inside," Ven Po declared, his sensory tentacles quivering with barely contained excitement. "These readings, they're impossible. According to this, we're looking at something that predates the Meridian Empire by billions of years." The team worked through the storm, using sonic excavators to clear away millennia of debris. As the last layer of dust fell away, they found themselves standing before an entrance that seemed to drink in the light from their equipment. The door, if it could be called that, stood twice their height, its surface decorated with spiraling patterns that tugged at the edge of consciousness. "Look at this," called out Dr. Narix, the team's synanthropologist. Her claws traced over a series of marks near the base of the entrance. These appear to be numerical sequences, but they're using a base 10 system. None of the early species we've studied used anything so inefficient. As they debated the significance of their find, no one noticed the small reaction their presence had triggered deep within the structure. A signal, dormant for eons, began to pulse outward, reaching across the vast distances between stars. The team finally breached the entrance, their lights illuminating a chamber that defied explanation. The walls were lined with displays that flickered to life at their presence, showing images that made their scientific training cry out in protest. They saw star systems that hadn't existed for billions of years, mathematical formulae that seemed to describe the very fabric of space-time, and most disturbing of all, crude but unmistakable drawings of their own species, drawn long before their worlds had even formed. In the center of the chamber, a hologram sputtered to life. The figure it displayed was bipedal, its face dominated by forward-facing eyes and an unsettling lack of protective plates or sensory appendages. It spoke in a language none of them recognized, yet somehow seemed familiar. None of them could have known that across the galaxy, on a seemingly unremarkable world called Earth, millions of humans suddenly paused in their daily activities, their genetic memory responding to a call they didn't yet understand. The archaeological team had just triggered the first step in humanity's awakening. The news of the discovery spread through the galactic scientific community like a quantum cascade. Within days, the finest minds from 17 species converged on NGC 2000, 187 bits. Among them was Dr. Sarah Chen, a relatively unknown xenoarchaeologist from Earth, whose presence was more a diplomatic courtesy than a scientific necessity. Fascinating construction, Sarah muttered, running her hand along the wall of the ancient chamber. Behind her, Dr. Nanix's appendages twitched nervously. "Please don't touch the artifacts," the xenanthropologist chittered. "We haven't fully analysed the material composition and—" She fell silent as Sarah pressed her palm flat against a seemingly blank section of wall, causing a hidden panel to slide open with a soft hiss. "How did you know that was there?" Venpo demanded, all four of his eyes focusing intensely on the human scientist. Sarah blinked, confusion crossing her features. I'm not sure. It just felt right." She stepped back, suddenly aware of the alien scrutiny directed her way. "Maybe I saw a seam in the wall." But she hadn't, and everyone present knew it. The wall had been seamless, its surface unbroken until her touch. It wasn't the first inexplicable incident involving human researchers. Earlier that day, a human technician had corrected the power calculations for some recovered technology without even looking at the numbers. Another had hummed a sequence that matched the structure's activation patterns perfectly. In the newly revealed chamber, the team found what appeared to be a control center. Holographic displays sprang to life, showing star charts and technical schematics that predated known civilization. The alien scientists gathered around the central console, their best minds struggling to decipher the ancient interface. "The mathematics are unlike anything we've encountered," Professor Ktil announced, his crystalline form refracting light as he gestured at the displays. "The base coding alone would require a fundamental understanding of universal constants that we've only recently begun to grasp." Sarah stepped forward, her eyes glazed slightly. Her fingers moved across the console with practiced ease. Despite this being her first encounter with the technology, the displays responded instantly, information flowing across the screens in a dizzying array. "You need to account for quantum entanglement at the galactic scale," she said absently, adjusting calculations that had stumped the alien scientists for days. "The power distribution makes perfect sense if you factor in dark energy as a containment medium." The chamber fell silent. Sarah continued working for several moments before realizing everyone was staring at her. She stepped back from the console, her face pale. "I don't know how I knew that," she whispered. "I don't even work with quantum mechanics. I'm an archaeologist. I just dig up old things and—" "You're human," Venpo stated flatly. It wasn't a question. His sensory tentacles quivered as he accessed his data pad. "In the past week, we've recorded 47 instances of humans displaying impossible knowledge of these ruins. Your species claims to be younger than most of ours, yet you interface with this ancient technology as if we built it," Sarah finished, her voice barely audible. The implications hung in the air like a physical presence. The alien scientists exchanged glances, their various physiologies expressing different shades of concern. Everything they thought they knew about humanity was being called into question. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. One of the displays had finished its analysis of Sarah's genetic structure, comparing it to the traces found in the ruins. The results caused Professor Kittil to emit a startled harmonic tone. "This is impossible," he chimed, his crystalline surface flickering with agitation. "The base pairs in human DNA, they're not random. There's a pattern, a complexity we've never seen before. And the age, these markers are billions of years old." Sarah stared at her hands as if seeing them for the first time. Somewhere in the back of her mind, something ancient stirred, like a long-forgotten memory trying to surface. Across the galaxy, other humans were experiencing similar moments of disconnect, their supposed young species revealing itself to be something far more profound. Humanity's facade was beginning to crack, and the galaxy wasn't ready for what lay beneath. The lunar discovery changed everything. What started as a routine survey of Earth's moon by the Galactic Archaeological Council turned into the most significant find in recorded history. Deep beneath the Sea of Tranquility, beneath layers of rock that hadn't been disturbed for billions of years, they found it. A vast computer complex larger than most cities. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the central chamber, surrounded by technology that simultaneously felt alien and etchingly familiar. The walls pulsed with soft blue light, responding to her presence in ways they never did for the alien scientists. Behind her, Venpo and his team monitored their instruments with growing amazement. "The power readings are off the scale," Professor Kittil harmonized, his crystalline form vibrating with excitement. "This facility is drawing energy from somewhere else, not our space-time." Sarah pressed her hand against a console, and ancient screens flickered to life. This time, she wasn't surprised when the knowledge flowed through her mind like a river breaking through a dam. "It's pulling power from the quantum foam between universes," she said quietly. They needed something that would last beyond the death of everything." They stuck in her throat. Because they were also we. A truth that was becoming impossible to deny. Across Earth, reports were flooding in. Children waking up speaking languages that predated known civilization. Artists creating images of worlds that had died billions of years ago. Scientists making intuitive leaps that should have been impossible. Humanity's genetic memory was awakening, triggered by the activation of the lunar complex. "Look at this," Dr. Narix called out, her appendages gesturing at a new holographic display. The image showed Earth, but not as they knew it. This was Earth from before, when the continents were different, when humanity was at its height. When they were the ones who watched over the galaxy. "We were dying," Sarah said, the memories surfacing like bubbles in dark water. Not just us, everything was dying. The universe was running down, entropy winning the final battle. We looked for solutions, tried to find ways to reverse it, to escape it, to transcend it. But in the end, there was only one way. The display shifted, showing sequences of DNA, but not like any DNA the alien scientists had ever seen. This was engineering on a scale that made genetic manipulation look like child's play. This was the encoding of an entire civilization into the building blocks of life itself. We couldn't save our bodies, our technology, our worlds. Sarah continued, the words coming from somewhere deep in her genetic memory. But we could save what mattered most, our knowledge, our understanding, our purpose. We wrote ourselves into primitive DNA, seeded it on a young Earth, and went to sleep. You devolved yourselves. Venpo asked, his sensory tentacles writhing in shock. Deliberately regressed your entire species. We evolved ourselves, Sarah corrected, but in reverse with a purpose. Every step of human evolution was carefully planned. Our apparent primitiveness was a design feature, not a flaw. We needed to grow up again, to relearn everything at exactly the right pace, to be ready at exactly the right time. The lunar facility hummed, its systems fully awake for the first time in billions of years. On the screens, data flowed in streams of light, the complete history of humanity's first iteration, the truth of their great sleep, and the reason for their carefully planned awakening. Earth wasn't randomly chosen, Sarah whispered, reading the ancient data with tears in her eyes. Its position, its solar system, its very geology, everything was calculated. It wasn't our cradle. It was our alarm clock. A new alert flashed across the screens. Somewhere in the vast distance between galaxies, something was stirring. The same threat that had forced humanity into their great sleep was returning. But this time, humanity wouldn't face it as the elder race they once were. They would face it as what they had become, a species that had hidden in plain sight, watching, waiting, and preparing for this moment across billions of years of carefully guided evolution. The Great Sleep was ending. The Guardians were awakening. Maya was only 6 years old when she started drawing the blueprints. Her mother found her in the living room, surrounded by dozens of papers covered in complex mathematical equations and engineering diagrams that no child should understand. The drawings showed machines that couldn't exist, yet somehow felt more real than the toys scattered across her bedroom floor. In New Delhi, an elderly street vendor stopped mid-sentence during a sale, his eyes growing distant as he began reciting poetry in a language that had died before the dinosaurs walked the earth. His customers filmed the incident, and linguists would later discover that his words contained mathematical constants hidden in their rhythm. The awakening was spreading. At the lunar facility, Sarah Chen watched the reports flood in from every corner of Earth. "It's happening faster than we expected," she told Venpo, who had barely left her side since their discovery. "The genetic memories aren't just surfacing randomly, they're organizing themselves." "But how is it possible?" the alien scientist asked, his sensory tentacles rippling with confusion. "Even if your species encoded itself into DNA, the amount of data should be infinite," Sarah finished. "We didn't just store data, we stored quantum states. Every human cell contains entangled particles linked to the memory of our first civilization. We're not remembering, we're synchronizing." On the screens around them, more incidents appeared. A teenager in Buenos Aires woke up knowing how to build a quantum communicator. A farmer in Kenya started explaining dark matter physics to his cattle. A concert pianist in Moscow began playing music that altered the local gravitational field. "Look at this pattern," Professor Ktil chimed, his crystalline form refracting the facility's blue light. The display showed a map of the awakening incidents, forming an intricate web across Earth's surface. They're not random. The memories are awakening in a specific sequence, like a boot sequence, Sarah nodded. "We're rebooting ourselves, but not all at once. It would drive us mad. Instead, we're waking up in stages, each memory triggering the next in a cascade that was planned billions of years ago." Maya's mother brought her daughter to one of the newly established awakening centers. The girl walked straight to a complex piece of alien technology that had baffled scientists for decades. Without hesitation, she began explaining how it worked, not as an ancient artifact, but as something she had helped design in another life. "The children are remembering fastest," Sarah observed, watching Maya through the center's cameras. "Their neural pathways are still forming, making it easier for the ancient memories to surface. They don't have to unlearn anything. They're becoming who they always were." But not all the memories were welcome. In hospitals across the world, people woke screaming from dreams of a dying universe. Others found themselves weeping for worlds they'd never seen and species that hadn't existed for billions of years. The weight of an entire civilization's worth of triumph and tragedy pressed against the minds of a species that had thought itself young. "There's something else," Venpo said quietly, his instruments detecting a new pattern in the awakening. "The memories, they're not just scientific knowledge. There's a purpose to them, a reason for their specific sequence. Your species isn't just remembering who you were, you're remembering why you chose to forget." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of ancient knowledge pressing against her consciousness. "We didn't just go to sleep to survive," she whispered. "We did it to prepare, to be ready when the time came. And now—" She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. On the screens around them, the awakening continued its carefully orchestrated pattern. Human civilization wasn't breaking down under the weight of ancient memories. It was transforming, becoming something that was both old and new, a bridge between what humanity had been and what they needed to become. In her classroom, Maya finished another drawing. This one showed a darkness between the galaxies and a line of text in a language she shouldn't know. "They're coming back. But this time, we're ready." The first sign that humanity had been more than passive guardians came from a seemingly mundane source. A traffic control satellite over Singapore malfunctioned, its ordinary systems falling away to reveal something far more advanced beneath. Within hours, similar transformations occurred worldwide, everyday technology awakening to its true purpose. Sarah Chen stood in the lunar facility's central chamber, watching as humanity's carefully constructed facade crumbled. Every piece of human infrastructure, she explained to the assembled alien scientists, every inefficient design choice, every seemingly primitive solution, they were all part of the defense grid. "Impossible," Professor Catil chimed, his crystalline structure vibrating with disbelief. "We've studied human technology for decades. It's basic, limited by material science, and—" He fell silent as Sarah touched a nearby console, causing the facility's main display to activate. The hologram showed Earth, but not as they knew it. Layers of hidden technology became visible. Orbital patterns that formed vast energy collection arrays, city layouts that doubled as power distribution networks, even the Internet itself, revealed as a planet-wide quantum computing system that had been hiding in plain sight. "We didn't just leave warnings," Sarah said, ancestral memories flowing through her mind like a river of light. "We left traps, weapons, shields. An entire defensive network disguised as a developing civilization." In New York, a hot dog vendor's cart transformed into a quantum field generator. The London Underground revealed itself as a massive particle accelerator. The Great Wall of China began emitting signals that altered the fabric of space-time itself. Maya, the young girl whose drawings had first hinted at humanity's true nature, stood in her backyard, looking at the stars. "They're not just lights anymore," she told her mother, her voice carrying the weight of ancient knowledge. "They're beacons, warning lights. We put them there before, to tell us when it was time." In the lunar facility, alarms began to sound. The defensive network, dormant for billions of years, was detecting something at the edge of known space. Something that humanity had sacrificed everything to prepare for. "Show me," Venpo demanded, his sensory tentacles rigid with tension. The display shifted, revealing a darkness deeper than the void between stars. "What is it?" Sarah's face paled as genetic memories older than the Earth itself surfaced. "The end of everything," she whispered. "Entropy-given consciousness. It destroyed our first civilization, consumed entire galaxies. We couldn't stop it then. We could only prepare, hide, wait for the right moment." And now, Professor Cattell asked. A new signal appeared on the displays, thousands of them, spreading across Earth and into space. Humanity's hidden technology was fully awakening, revealing capabilities that defied the known laws of physics. Every human invention, every quirk of their society, every seemingly random choice in their development had been carefully designed for this moment. "Now we show you why we did this," Sarah replied, her eyes glowing with the light of ancient stars. "Why we hid ourselves in plain sight, pretending to be primitive while we built the greatest defensive network in the history of the universe. Around the world, humans began moving with purpose, accessing technology that their conscious minds hadn't known existed until moments ago. Children spoke launch codes that had been hidden in nursery rhymes. Grandparents remembered access sequences encoded in traditional recipes. The entire species moved as one, guided by the memories they had carried in their DNA for billions of years. In orbit, satellites transformed into weapon platforms that could reshape reality itself. Deep beneath the oceans, hidden bases activated, ready to coordinate a defense that had been planned since before the Earth was young. Even the moon itself began to shift, revealing its nature as more than just a natural satellite. Maya looked up at the changing sky and smiled. "We're not really the youngest species," she said, speaking a truth that humanity had hidden for eons. "We're the oldest. We just had to pretend to wait to be ready. And now..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Across the galaxy, the ancient enemy was approaching, unaware that what looked like a primitive species on a backwater world was actually the universe's most elaborate trap. Humanity's greatest deception was about to become their greatest weapon. The children found it first. A network of crystalline structures beneath every major human population center. What appeared to be natural mineral formations were actually quantum processors of unimaginable complexity, waiting for the right moment to activate. 6-year-old Maya wasn't the only one who understood their purpose now. "It's beautiful," she whispered, standing before a towering crystal spire that had erupted from beneath Central Park. Her small hand traced patterns in the air, and the crystal responded, pulsing with colors that shouldn't exist in normal space-time. In the lunar facility, Sarah Chen watched as similar discoveries occurred worldwide. Every child's drawing, she explained to the stunned alien scientists, every crayon scribble of impossible shapes. They weren't imagination. They were memories of this, bleeding through before we were ready. Venpo's sensory tentacles twisted in amazement as he studied the data streams. These formations, they're not just weapons or shields. They're teaching tools. "Yes," Sarah nodded, ancient pride flooding through her genetic memory. "We didn't just prepare defenses. We prepared lessons. Everything humanity has done, every war, every peace, every triumph and failure, was a carefully orchestrated curriculum. Around the world, the evidence mounted. A grandmother's lullaby contained activation codes for planetary shields. The patterns in traditional dances matched the quantum harmonics needed for faster-than-light travel. Even human games, chess, Go football, revealed themselves as military simulations disguised as entertainment. Professor Cattell's crystalline form resonated with understanding. "Your entire culture. It's a teaching manual." "More than that," Sarah replied, watching as Maya guided a group of alien scientists through the activation of a defense grid that could reshape solar systems. "We engineered ourselves to be teachers. Every quirk of human psychology, every seemingly irrational trait, they're all tools designed to help younger species learn." In orbit, satellites that had once tracked weather patterns now projected energy fields capable of containing supernovas. But they didn't just protect. They demonstrated, showing their alien observers exactly how the technology worked, teaching even as they defended. The lunar facility's displays showed humanity's hidden purpose with crystal clarity. They hadn't remained hidden out of fear or weakness, but out of necessity. The role of teacher required patience, required letting younger species develop their own paths, while subtly guiding them toward the knowledge they would need. "Watch," Maya said to her alien audience, her young voice carrying ancient wisdom. With a gesture that looked like child's play, but contained calculations beyond current scientific understanding, she activated another crystal spire. "It's like learning to dance. You have to feel the rhythm of the universe." Across Earth, other humans were doing the same, showing, teaching, guiding. The genetic memories that had seemed like a burden now revealed their true purpose. Every human was a teacher, carrying billions of years of knowledge encoded in ways that made it accessible, understandable, transferable. In the Sahara Desert, ancient cave paintings transformed into technical manuals for weapons that could fight entropy itself. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, rock formations that had puzzled geologists for centuries revealed themselves as star maps, showing safe havens and danger zones in the coming conflict. "We didn't just preserve knowledge," Sarah explained, watching Maya teach quantum physics through what looked like a children's game. "We preserved the art of teaching itself. The ability to take complex ideas and make them comprehensible, to guide without controlling, to protect while empowering." The alien scientists watched in awe as humanity's true nature emerged. Not conquerors, not mere survivors, but guardians in the truest sense. Species who had sacrificed their own advancement to ensure that others would be ready when the darkness returned. Maya looked up from her lesson, her eyes reflecting the light of the crystal spire. "We remember now," she said, speaking for all humanity. "Not just what we were, but what we chose to become. We're not soldiers or rulers or victims. We're teachers, and the greatest lesson is about to begin." In the space between galaxies, the ancient enemy approached, unaware that it wasn't facing a primitive species, but an entire civilization that had spent billions of years preparing not just to fight, but to teach others how to win. The quantum anomaly appeared first as a pinprick of absolute darkness against the starfield, a void that consumed light itself. From Earth's lunar facility, Sarah Chen watched as ancient sensors, disguised for eons as simple astronomical equipment, tracked its approach. "It's bigger than before," she said, genetic memories providing a comparison that made her blood run cold. "It's learned, evolved." Maya stood beside her, the child's small hand intertwined with Sarah's. Around them, the lunar facility had transformed into what it truly was, a command center for a war that had been planned since before the Earth coalesced for cosmic dust. All defense grid sectors reporting ready, Professor Ktill announced, his crystalline form pulsing with nervous energy. The human children, they're coordinating everything. How are they doing it? The answer lay in playgrounds across Earth, where children's games had suddenly revealed their true purpose. Every game of hopscotch was a tactical simulation. Every round of tag contained lessons in quantum displacement theory. The youngest humans, their minds unburdened by preconceptions, were remembering fastest and teaching as they remembered. Squad formations holding, Venpo reported, watching as Earth's orbital defense platforms, disguised for decades as communications satellites, moved into position. But the enemy's approach vector, it's not what we expected. "No," Maya said quietly, her young voice carrying ancient authority. "It's exactly what we expected. That's why we built the playgrounds where we did." Across Earth, children looked up from their games and moved with purpose. In New York, A kindergarten class activated planetary shields using jump rope rhymes. In Tokyo, a group of middle schoolers coordinated fleet movements through what appeared to be a mobile game. In Lagos, teenage soccer players adjusted gravitational fields with their practiced footwork. The void grew larger, consuming the light of distant stars. But humanity wasn't watching in fear. They were teaching. Pattern Sigma 7. An elderly woman in Beijing announced, her knitting needles clicking as she demonstrated the defense formation to a group of alien technicians. Each stitch contained quantum equations that had taken their species millennia to develop. Like this, a young boy in Seattle showed his alien friends his skateboard tricks, somehow adjusting the phase variance of the planetary shields. It's all about the flow, the rhythm. You have to feel it. Sarah watched as humanity's greatest deception revealed its true purpose. They hadn't hidden their knowledge out of fear. They had packaged it in forms that could be taught, learned, understood. Every human activity, from sports to arts to simple games, contained layers of meaning that were only now becoming clear. The void struck first at the outer defense grid, but where it expected to find primitive satellites, it encountered weapons platforms disguised as weather stations. Where it looked for weakness, it found strength hidden in plain sight. And most importantly, where it expected to find fear, it found teachers. Now, Maya commanded, her small voice carrying across global communications networks. Earth's children moved as one, their games and toys and simple pleasures revealing themselves as components of the most sophisticated defense system ever created. The void recoiled as impossible energies erupted from jump rope arcs and hopscotch grids. Playground equipment transformed into quantum field generators. Skate parks revealed themselves as gravitational lens arrays. Everything humanity had built, every tradition they had maintained, served a dual purpose: to preserve knowledge and to prepare for this moment. In the lunar facility, Sarah watched as humanity's true power manifested not in destruction, but in instruction. Even in the midst of battle, they were teaching, showing their alien allies how to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe through methods that seemed deceptively simple. We didn't prepare for this battle, Sarah realized, ancient memories crystallizing into understanding. We prepared for all the battles to come. We're not just fighting, we're teaching the galaxy how to fight. Maya nodded, her eyes reflecting the light of weapons that had been hidden in children's toys. The best teachers, she said, make the hardest lessons seem like child's play. The void churned, facing not just humanity's weapons, but their greatest gift, the ability to make the impossible seem inevitable, one simple lesson at a time. The void retreated, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed, not by the weapons humanity had hidden in plain sight, but by the lessons they had taught. In the lunar facility, Sarah Chen watched as the defensive networks powered down, transforming back into the simple technologies they had pretended to be. Was that it? Venpo asked, his sensory tentacles still quivering from the battle. Did we win? Maya looked up from what appeared to be a simple drawing pad, but had just coordinated the movements of 1,000 quantum shields. We didn't win, she said, her young voice carrying ancient wisdom. We just finished the first lesson. Around Earth, the transformation continued, but not as anyone had expected. Instead of maintaining their revealed power, humans began teaching others how to access it themselves. The crystal spires that had erupted from hidden places didn't retract, they became schools. Now you try, a grandmother in Mumbai told her alien students, showing them how her knitting patterns contained the keys to quantum manipulation. Feel the rhythm of the universe in the stitches. In Central Park, the massive crystal formation had become a playground again, But now alien children played alongside human ones, learning fundamental universal constants through games of tag and hide and seek. "We understand now," Professor Till chimed, his crystalline form resonating with revelation. "Your species didn't evolve to fight the void. You evolved to teach others how to fight it." Sarah nodded, watching as Maya guided a group of young aliens through what looked like a simple dance, but was actually a lesson in manipulating space-time. "We knew we couldn't beat it alone. No single species could, but together." The games, Venpo interrupted, his sensory organs vibrating with sudden understanding. The sports, the arts, the seemingly inefficient ways humans do everything, they're all teaching tools. More than that, Sarah smiled, genetic memories flowing through her mind like a warm current. They're ways of making the impossible seem natural. Every human activity, every tradition, every quirk of our culture, they're designed to help other species understand the universe in ways their own evolution might have missed. In orbit, satellites that had revealed themselves as weapon platforms now served as training grounds. The alien scientists who had come to study humanity's past were learning to see the future hidden in children's drawings and playground rhymes. Maya finished her latest drawing, a complex diagram that looked like a child's scribble but contained the blueprints for a device that could reshape galaxies. "Want to learn how to make one?" she asked the alien children gathered around her. "It's easy, like building with blocks." The Void's retreat had left something more valuable than victory. It had left understanding. Humanity's greatest achievement wasn't surviving the previous universe or hiding their true nature for billions of years. It was developing ways to make the most complex universal concepts accessible to any species willing to learn. "Time to share the next lesson," Sarah announced, accessing the lunar facility's true purpose. Across Earth, other humans did the same, revealing not just the technology they had hidden, but the methods they had developed to teach it. Like this, Maya demonstrated, showing her alien friends how to encode knowledge into DNA, how to preserve not just information, but understanding across billions of years. It's like telling a story that your great-great-grandchildren will remember. The galaxy watched in wonder as humanity's final deception was revealed. They had never intended to remain the guardians. They had spent billions of years preparing to be teachers, developing methods to pass on their knowledge in ways that any species could grasp. In the lunar facility, Sarah initiated the final protocol, not a weapon or a shield, but an invitation to learn. "The Void will return," she said to the assembled alien representatives. "But next time, we'll all be ready." Maya looked up from her lesson, smiling at the universe that was transforming from a battlefield into a classroom. "That's why we chose to forget," she said, "so we could remember how to teach." Around them, the stars seemed brighter, not with the light of ancient weapons, but with the promise of understanding yet to come. The cycle had begun anew, but this time, no species would face the darkness alone.